Welcome! This is Catholic Discovery 101, a program dedicated to sharing the Catholic faith that we love with all our friends and neighbors and family in the Pocatello-Chubbuck community. My name is Dianne Nisita, and in our guest chair today we have Deacon Scott Pearhill from Holy Spirit Catholic Community. Deacon Scott is here this month of December to talk about how Catholics live out the liturgical seasons of Advent and Christmas. Welcome, Deacon Scott.
Welcome. Thank you.
Deacon Scott, before we start, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. As you mentioned, I am a deacon in the Roman Catholic Church. A deacon is an ordained person, but not ordained to the presbyterate. I'm not a priest. I'm a married man. I have 2 children. I have one in college and one in high school. And I assist the priest. I celebrate some of the sacraments. I do hatch, match, and dispatch.
Hatch, match, dispatch.
I baptize, I marry, and I celebrate funerals, as well as assisting at Mass and preaching on Sunday.
I have to say, when I was growing up in the Catholic Church, there was no deacons.
Right.
When did all this happen?
The diaconate was restored with the Second Vatican Council in the 1960s. There had always been deacons. If you look at sacred scripture, there's a lot of, there are references to deacons. But the role of the deacon in the community faded during a number of centuries and was restored in the 1960s. So yeah, prior to the 1960s, you would not have seen a deacon assisting a priest at Mass.
So your job is basically revolving around your pastor?
Yes, I assist at Mass. I assist the pastor. I'm primarily responsible to the bishop.
And that would be?
Bishop Mike Driscoll in Boise. But his local helper is the priest, and so I help the priest.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Now it's time to talk about the Christmas season and the Advent season.
Right.
Starting with the Christmas season first, what can you tell us?
Okay, well, I think the first important thing to recognize is that Christmas is a season. It's not just one day. It's not just December 25th. In the Catholic Church, it generally extends at least 12 days, but it can go as many as 20. And in fact, this Christmas season will be 20 days long. You may recall the song, The 12 Days of Christmas.
I do.
And that's helping us to know that there's more than just one day to the season. We take an extended period of time to unpack the mystery of Jesus Christ being born into humanity, the love of God being shared with us physically in human history. Yeah. In fact, in my household, in addition to having an Advent calendar, we actually have a Christmas calendar that helps our family to remember that there's more than just December 25th. We actually have on the 26th the Feast of Stephen, and these are Christmas ornaments. When the Feast of Stephen comes around on the 26th, as it does every year, Stephen was the first Christian martyr. We hang his ornament up on the tree. My wife just sewed these little guys up, so that it's easy to do. Then we have the Feast of St. John on the 27th. This year, on the 28th, we have the Feast of the Holy Innocents, where we recall the innocent children that were killed when Jesus was born. Herod was searching for Jesus and killed a bunch of children. So the Feast of Holy Innocents. And then on the first Sunday of the Christmas season, we have the Feast of the Holy Family, where we remember Mary, Joseph, and Jesus as a family. That's what this little heart is for. We just made up our own symbols to symbolize them. And again, they get hung on the tree. The end of this year's Christmas season, as always, will fall on the baptism of the Lord, the baptism of Jesus Christ in the Jordan River by John the Baptist. So we have a little Holy Spirit dove on the Feast of the Baptism of the Lord down here on the last day of the Christmas season. So this helps us to keep decorating the Christmas tree throughout the season of Christmas.
You know, it wasn't until I was researching for your presentation today that I realized we have two 2 liturgical seasons in the month of December.
That's right. Prior to Christmas, Catholics and Christians throughout the world get ready for Christmas by preparing during the season of Advent. Advent means to come, so we're getting ready for what is coming, the birth of the Lord. So we have 4 weeks in which we get ready for the Christmas season. We try to remove any obstacles we have in our own life that would stop us from accepting the innocent love of the baby Jesus that is coming to us on December 25th.
Do you know, while you're mentioning in this, I see that you have this little creche thing here. Can you tell us what these are all about?
The Christmas creche, or the Christmas manger scene, goes all the way back to St. Francis of Assisi, who was the first one to do this in the 1200s. It represents Jesus in the manger. And so you have a number of different characters. This is St. Joseph, and you have Mary over here, and you have the 3 kings who will sorry about that, Mary, who will show up on the Feast of Epiphany during the Christmas season. Okay, so in our house, we don't put all these guys in here yet. The 3 kings are somewhere else in the house, and they're on their way. Here's their camel. The camel and the 3 kings are on their way to the manger, and they don't arrive until the Feast of Epiphany after Christmas. But meanwhile, on December 24th, the shepherds arrive with their sheep. Mary and Joseph are there, of course. And then on December 25th, we'll put the baby Jesus into the crib. And where is the baby Jesus right now? Baby Jesus is in his Christmas calendar, and he will come out. He won't go on the tree. He'll go into the crib in the manger on December 25th. And again, my wife just sewed these up. You know, we didn't always have our Christmas traditions together. It took us a while to figure out how to make Christmas manifest in our own family, in our own household. The first few years when our children were very young, we didn't know what we were doing. And it just, by trial and error and experiment, we found that our kids loved this. They loved the little Christmas calendar where we could hang the ornaments on the tree. And they loved our Advent calendar as well. Let me move our 3 kings and our camel back over here. And so this is our Advent calendar. So during the 4 weeks of Advent that lead up to Christmas, we have a little story that happens each day from December 1st, essentially, up to December 24th. And I'm looking for the very first one, number 1. Anyway, let's just pull out this guy right here. So on the day, this is actually for the 6th day of Advent, we open it up, we read the little story, and it tells us the story of Christmas, okay? Gets us ready. It tells us what Mary and Joseph were doing. They were traveling to Bethlehem. And then we hang it up on the tree. So again, in our house, our tree is decorated with the Christmas story and then the important feast days that happen during the Christmas season. So the tree becomes a really significant theological tool, even though our kids didn't know that at the time. They just knew that it was the story of Christmas going up.
You have some very beautiful traditions. Did you? And I see that you said you experimented.
Yes.
Did you have any failures?
Oh yeah, we've had lots of failures. We tried to invent a tradition where on the Feast of Epiphany, which is in the Christmas season again, it's the Feast of the 3 Kings, when the 3 kings bring gold and frankincense and myrrh to the baby Jesus, on that feast day in the Christmas season, we tried to bring a gift to Jesus, essentially a resolution for how we were going to do a good work during the upcoming year. And that one flopped. We would write it out, and then we would fold it up and hang it on the Christmas tree too. And then the next year we would take it off and review how we did. And nobody got into that. That one was a massive failure.
The little kids wouldn't remember what they'd written, so probably wasn't that interesting anymore. But nice idea. You know, maybe for more adult children.
Right,
huh?
Right. Everybody's family is going to be different, and everybody needs to find what works for them. The most important thing, I think, is during Advent and Christmas to actually make time to have some solitude, to reflect on the Lord, to get away from the shopping season if you can. My worst Christmas ever was I was working in a department store. I used to be a manager at Lamont's clothing store, wonderful clothing store. I really enjoyed working there. But I had to work until 7 o'clock on December 24th, and I had to be back in the shop at 5 a.m. on December 26th. And one Christmas in particular, when I had to do that, I was so manic. I had so little time to reflect and to have any solitude that during the 25th, I was just a wreck. My hands were shaking. Someone saw me driving home from Lamont's on the 24th, and they said that I looked like a madman. So everybody's different.
I heard an axe murderer.
An axe murderer, right, right. So we all have to take time in the season to figure out what it's all about.
I'm glad that you told us that this has evolved over a period of years and it's been trial and error. Otherwise, you would look like the perfect Christmas person.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Hey, and while I'm saying that, you know, I like to hang on the Christmas tree things that people have given me. My mother, whom I'll introduce to you in just a moment, when she was traveling in Egypt, brought me these wonderful crosses that are meant to be hung on a Christmas tree. They're a Christmas decoration. They're just soft. You can squeeze them. And so I hang these up. They remind me of my mother and her travels. And my mother is Dianne, Dianne Nisita, the interviewer here. We grew up together, and much of what I know about Christmas came from Dianne. And then I like to hang up the actual silver bells, if you will. And why are these significant? This one has my son Gabriel, it says 1998, and so we hang up a bell for Gabriel, for my son Robert. We hang up one for Marcy. We hang up one for Dianne, one for Scott, and these go on the tree as well.
What do you do for gifts, Scott? You're talking about all this religious significance,
Yes.
but what about Santa Claus? Where does Santa come in?
Well, you know, for all those kids out there, we absolutely love Santa Claus, and Santa Claus is Saint Nicholas, and that is a person who exemplified. A saint is someone who teaches us about the life of Jesus by their holy works, and Saint Nicholas is definitely one of those. And families have lots of traditions about when to give gifts, and in our house, as you know, my mother was cruel, and she would never let us have any gifts prior to December 24th, right before Mass. So we would get one gift right before Mass, then we would go to Mass, we'd have to go to sleep, all the other presents would lay under the tree, and on the 25th we could open all of those. And that tradition survives in my family till today. We do that cruelty to our own kids.
Okay, thank you for revealing that. That's very nice of you. Let's talk about the members of our Spanish-speaking community and how they celebrate Christmas.
Okay, you know, and I'm just learning myself about how our Spanish-speaking community celebrates Christmas. Of course, they have December 25th, and they have the Advent season, and then they have some special feasts within the Advent season, which are just amazingly wonderful. We have principally, we have our wonderful feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe, Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe. It's on December 12th. That's the actual feast day for it. In our parish, we have the tradition of celebrating it on the closest Sunday. So this year, it will be on December 9th. And what happens on the feast day of Our Lady of Guadalupe, who, by the way, is the patron saint of the Americas. So Our Lady of Guadalupe is the saint for all of us in the Americas. What happens is very early in the morning this year on December 9th, in the basement of St. Anthony's Church, there will be what's known as mañanitas, the very early morning. It'll take place at 5 a.m. and it's a little
5 a.m.
5 a.m., earlier than God gets up. And they'll have lots of food items and some special food items that are traditional for a mañanita celebration of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
I don't understand. They assemble at the church?
Yes, downstairs in the hall, so that they can have food. And there will be menudo, which is a type of soup, a very interesting type of soup, and some other traditional food items. And then at 6 a.m., there will be a bilingual Mass in honor of Our Lady of Guadalupe. I will be there. I will be assisting at Mass. There will be a priest, and I'll be his assistant. And then at 1 p.m. on the same day, there will actually be a Spanish language only Mass at which Our Lady of Guadalupe will be remembered. Just very briefly, there are some other activities that are really fun for children that also happen for our Spanish-speaking community. During the Advent season, they celebrate Las Posadas, which is the story of Mary and Joseph searching for a place to stay so that they can have their baby. And as you know from Scripture, they couldn't find anywhere to stay, and they ended up in a stable, in a barn, you know, if you will, in a manger, because there was no place that they could stay. And so in Las Posadas, little tables and booths are set up, and people go around from booth to booth, and they relive that, trying to find somewhere to be. It's a lot of fun. It's for children, and that will take place leading up to Christmas during the Advent season. And you can find the information for
Is everyone invited to that?
Sure, anybody who wants to go can go. Yeah, come and enjoy.
Is there English spoken as well?
You know, it's principally a Spanish language happening, but my experience of the Spanish-speaking community is they are so generous and will always welcome anybody who wants to be there. And for those of you that don't yet speak Spanish, learn.
Okay, all right. Perhaps we have Our Lady of Guadalupe hanging behind us.
Right.
Maybe you could tell the story of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Okay, just very briefly, when conquerors from Spain first came over to the New World and started bringing their Catholic faith to the New World, at first, not everybody was included. The native peoples were left out, if you will. Our Lady, Mary, the mother of Jesus, appeared in this area, in the area of Guadalupe, and she appeared to Juan Diego, who is the little guy underneath right there. His name, if you were to translate it into English, would be John James. That was his Christian name, Juan Diego. And so Mary appeared to Juan Diego, and she said to him essentially that his people, his native people, were included in the Christian community. And he needed to go to the Roman Catholic bishop and convince that bishop that the native peoples should be included. And what happens is, as a sign that Mary really appeared to him, Mary gave him roses in winter to show to the bishop. And he put them in his tilma, it's sort of like a poncho, and he was carrying the roses like this in his poncho, loaded down with roses, and he dropped the roses before the bishop, and then, unbeknownst to him, on the poncho was this image of Mary. And so the miracle of Our Lady of Guadalupe is not just roses in winter and a miraculous image on a piece of cloth. Perhaps another aspect of the miracle is that the native peoples were included. Our Lady of Guadalupe is a celebration of inclusivity, that all people belong to Christ and no one should be kept out. It's a miracle of conversion because the bishop had to change in his heart. And that's what we celebrate on December 12th, this year on December 9th. That's what Our Lady of Guadalupe is about. Very important feast.
I noticed that in the church calendar that there's a number of days and that people assemble at St. Anthony's and they say the rosary. Right.
There will be a novena, which is very traditional during the Advent season. That's 9 days of praying the rosary continuously. So they gather at a certain hour, maybe 6 or 7 o'clock. It might be on here. We'll get it published on the website if it's not already. And they pray the rosary. The rosary only takes about 20 minutes to pray. And they'll do that for 9 days to help prepare their hearts, to help make themselves more prayerful during the season, more open to the will and to the love of God.
What about in English? Is the rosary done in English?
Yeah, well, the one that's being done in Spanish will be done in Spanish, and if we're praying the rosary in English, that one will be done in English. But I've prayed the rosary many times in Spanish, and the nice thing is you just fall in, you just do what the other folks are doing, and it comes along very easily.
I attended, I think, last year, and what happens is they alternate.
They alternate. Okay,
Yes.
great. Yeah.
So there is
Very
the possibility.
inclusive.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And the important thing here is that we have more and more Spanish-speaking people in the state of Idaho, and this is a wonderful way to say to our Spanish brothers and sisters, welcome.
Welcome. And it's a wonderful way for our Spanish-speaking brothers and sisters to welcome us as well. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
We haven't discussed the Advent wreath, which I see just sitting there, as nice as can be. So, you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Another Catholic tradition is that during the 4 weeks of Advent, the season leading up to Christmas, we light a candle on each Sunday of Advent. And so, and you might say, well, what's this fifth one in here? Some Catholics will light the fifth candle, the Christmas candle, on December 25th. So these represent the 4 Sundays of Advent, and this one represents December 25th itself. And a common question that people have is, what is the pink one all about? Surely that must be the 4th Sunday of Advent, the last Sunday of Advent. Actually, it's not. That's the 3rd Sunday of Advent. Advent, as you can tell by these purple colors, these darker purple colors, is a penitential season. It's a season of prayer. It's a season of getting our hearts ready for Christ and dealing with anything that prevents us from being open to Jesus. So the purple represents the penitential color. The rose color, or the pink color, represents joy, and this is if you will, a joyful Sunday. These candles, many people don't realize, also correspond to our readings on Sunday. So you'll have 3 Sundays of penitential readings that ask us to think about what's going on in our hearts. But on the 3rd Sunday of Advent, we get a break, we get a rest. We have the joyful Sunday, where the readings will actually say joy and be joyful.
Yes, because you would think that with the coming of Christmas and the birth, that there is...
Absolutely. Well, and as everybody knows, Advent ends up being a very joyful season all the way throughout, but there's some work we have to do in it. We have to get ready for the birth of Christ. We have to be ready when it happens. So we have a little work to do. That's the penitential part.
Okay, penitential part. How do Roman Catholics get ready?
You know, Roman Catholics get ready by prayer, by fasting, by almsgiving. Those things happen also during the season of Lent. But in Advent, we do some of those things as well. There's also a penance service. We have actually a church service where we reflect on how we have been living. If we have to make any improvements, that's called a penance service. And for Catholics here in the Pocatello-Chubbuck area, that penance service will be at St. Joseph's at 7 p.m. on December 4th. That's called the Sacrament of Reconciliation, or in former times it was called Confession. So we have a community-wide reconciliation or penance service on December 4th at St. Joseph's Chapel at 7 p.m.
And is that true for all of Southeast Idaho? How does that work?
No. There will be a penance service on a different date for Idaho Falls, on a different date for all of the different parishes in Southeast Idaho. This is ours. And to make it go more quickly, because you can imagine hundreds of people come, priests from all of Southeast Idaho will come to Pocatello on December 4th, and our priests will go to their churches on other dates to do their penance services. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't mention the song?
Oh, right. That's right.
And I was prepared to sing a song.
Okay, let's sing a song.
Okay, let's.
Traditional in our house, and you don't have to do this, but in our house, when we light one of the candles on a Sunday during Advent, we sing O Come, Emmanuel, a very traditional Christmas, Advent Christmas song. So.
Okay, and you're going to light, and I'm going to sing.
Yes. A little softer.
O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel, who mourns in lowly exile here, until the Son of God appear. Rejoice, rejoice, O Israel, shall be mighty power to save and bring us victory o'er the grave.
Rejoice, rejoice, O Israel, to thee shall come Emmanuel. You know, you don't have to sing well, you only have to sing loudly.
And there are two versions of the rejoice part, which is really fun. And I just discovered, I have practiced actually with Scott, even if it doesn't show. And he has a different version of the rejoice. Tell about that.
Well, yeah, there's two ways to sing that song, and unfortunately everybody thinks that their way is the correct way, so we all end up singing it differently, but again, it doesn't matter.
Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel, or rejoice, rejoice,
O Israel, to thee shall come Emmanuel. Emmanuel is a name for Jesus that's really fitting for Advent and Christmas. It means with us God, Im Anu El. Im is with, Anu is us, and El is God in Hebrew. So Emmanuel is a way of saying that our God doesn't stay distant from us, off in the clouds, up on a mountain somewhere, but actually desires to dwell with us in humanity.
You know, now is the time, we have about 3 minutes left, to summarize the religious meaning of Christmas and Advent.
Sure. Advent comes before Christmas, and its religious meaning really is just get ready for the coming of Jesus. If you haven't thought about Jesus in a little while, if you haven't thought about what Jesus means to you, Advent is the time to do that. And Advent's also the time for us to clean up our act if there's anything that we're doing that is less worthy of the holy calling that we have to be disciples of Jesus. What is the meaning of Christmas? When Christmas comes, it is a time for us to remember that the love of God, Jesus Christ, God is love, that the love of God has been born into our world, is with us in the flesh. God is closer to us now than our own breath, and God has experienced everything that we have experienced except sin. And so the meaning of Christmas is God, our God, is coming to us in the form of a little baby with innocent and vulnerable love. And we also want to take in that innocence and that vulnerability and be bravely people who follow God, who love God, and who are attached to God.
How about you just give us the Christmas Mass schedule? Can you do that without looking?
No, I got to look. Deacon Scott doesn't have that kind of memory. On December 24th, Christmas Eve, we have a youth Mass at St. Anthony's Chapel at 6 p.m. And we also have another Mass at St. Joseph's Chapel at 6 p.m. And then we have another Mass on Christmas Eve at 9 p.m. at St. Anthony's. And then finally, we have midnight Mass at St. Anthony's at midnight. Sometimes people ask me, so what time is midnight Mass? And it's at midnight. and that will be a really beautiful, beautiful celebration. I will be there at the midnight Mass myself, assisting.
And I have to close.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Deacon Scott. And thank you for spending time with us today. Catholic Discovery 101 airs on Sunday evenings at 6 o'clock and 10:30 in the morning on Tuesdays. I said thank you to Scott. I said thank you for coming today. And I'd like to finish with Charles Dickens's blessing for all of us. He said, with Tiny Tim, remember the Scrooge story? He said, God bless us all, each and every one of us.